I'd like to call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. This is the February 18th meeting of the Council on Aging Board of Directors. I'd like to just go around and do our quick introductions, as always. Maybe we'll start with Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Hayes, Council on Aging Director.
I'm Laura Manera, Manager of Social Services.
Marty O'Toole, Selectman Liaison.
Dale Baylor, Board Member.
J.D. Miller, I'm a board member and sitting in, I guess, for Gordon Price, who I understand couldn't make it.
Ruth Thompson from the Mariner. Lucille, Board Member.
Janice, Board Member.
Elaine Chimbari, Liaison from the Commission on Disabilities.
Very good. Knowing everyone's got a tight schedule today, so why don't we jump right into Laura.
Okay, thank
Can you give
you.
us a report from Social Services?
And just as an introduction, I do try to have one of the staff for the Council on Aging come to each of the meetings and at that time have an opportunity to give a little extra report and so that people get to know a little bit more about what they do.
We welcome having you come.
Yeah, I think it's great. And it's good. I think the last time I was here, I was with child.
I think so. In a different way.
I feel a little lighter. With child. So just for the board, a little bit of an administrative tidbit. So I think you all were informed that when I returned from my maternity leave, my position was split. So I'm partly under the Health Department, partly under the Council on Aging. So trying to sort of wrap my head around the role, I'm trying to figure out where I can make a little bit more time. And Linda and I had talked about for me to move to quarterly reports for all of you. So I have it listed in the report that you guys have. But basically, in April, you'll get my January, February, March information and data and so on and so forth. So I'll just do it quarterly if that's okay with everyone. In terms of this, so for this month, I did do the month of January. I just wanted you guys to have that information before I jumped into the quarterly report. So the report that's in there for this month is simply for the month of January. So when I start identifying my clients, now if I'm not getting referrals from the police department or the fire department or the health department, what typically happens is that Jenny Gervis, the outreach coordinator, will triage. So Jenny, as you know, is extremely capable, manages a lot independently. There are situations where she feels like there's more intensive care and follow-up that needs to take place, and that's when she will pass along to the referral to me. The other time that she passes the referral to me is if it's a case where that requires a lot of home visits. So really, if somebody is truly homebound and cannot come to the senior center, it's hard for Jenny to get out, every day, every week to see those folks. So that's when I will typically take on that case. So the folks that I work with, a lot of involvement. I'm, visiting with them regularly. There's a lot of follow-up. Cases rarely close out. They're just sort of ongoing, lots of case management. So in the month of January, I saw 23 clients. I'm now including folks who are 55 and up in sort of the number that I include, and that's because what we have learned is that when I can get involved earlier on, we can do more. So as many of you know, a lot of the services that are available to seniors don't start until you're 60. So that leaves a big gap for people who are, from 50 to 59. There's not really nothing available. So if I can get involved earlier, we tend to have better outcomes. And so that has, proven to be true time and time again with the folks that I've been working with. So when I give you the number of clients I'm working with, I'm going to start now to do 55 and up. So the number of elderly at risk clients that I've seen that I saw in January are 7. And those are usually where I'm really involved with protective services and we're collaborating and trying to get services in place for somebody who needs it. There was one homeless senior that I had to work with in the month of January, 7 acute mental health issues, 9 were involved around emergency preparedness, and 13 were just miscellaneous food assistance, transportation, ongoing advocacy. That does not add up to 23, but some of those clients I put into multiple buckets, so that's why.
And I'm just curious on the emergency preparedness, are those the numbers that you were able to visit as part of the assessment?
I I think that was
Additional.
separate. That was, you mean with the fire department? Yeah, those were separate. Either I was developing a plan with them or, just doing follow-up work with them. So we have this really amazing monthly caregiver support group. It's the third Wednesday of every month from 12 to 1 at St. Mary's. It's been going on for more than 10 years. Some of the original people who are in the group are still there. Our numbers tend to get lower in the winter, though. I think it's harder for people to get out. They tend to stay home, or they leave town sometimes. So in January, we had 2 participants. We tend to have a core group of about 5, and they're 5 really strong, active members. But we're always welcoming new members, so please spread the word. It's a wonderful group. The people in the group are so supportive and so...
So out of curiosity, what do those 5 or more do with their loved ones when they're at the caregiver support group? Do they all do something different?
They all
Private
kind of do
care?
something different. So some of them, have their loved one in a program like the Duxbury Council on Aging. One of them has them go there. One of them can stay home. The loved one can stay home, or they have somebody in the home or something. So everyone kind of does something a little
Difficult
different.
days.
Yeah. But please know that this is an ongoing group. I do like to talk...
Once a month?
Once a month.
From what time did you say?
12 to 1 at St. Mary's.
On what day?
The third Wednesday of every month.
And that is almost always, well, it is always, in the newsletter at the top of page 2. The inside cover all of the support groups, but we've tried to set hers apart just because it is the one that we have with Scituate, and they would love more members.
Yep. Yeah.
And it isn't just for Alzheimer's caregivers.
And if you can refer anybody to me, I do like to talk to them before they come to a meeting, just to make sure it's appropriate. Sometimes they need a different group, or they're looking for something a little bit different. So we had a really neat partnership with the Scituate Fire Department in January, and I'm not sure if this is probably in your report, but so the fire department got a grant, and the grant was to do home visits to be able to install new carbon monoxide and smoke detectors in people's homes. They came to the Council on Aging and said, we want to pair with you guys. Can you guys come with us to do these home visits? So we went with them to do over a dozen homes, and we were able, the fire department and the Red Cross paired together, installing new smokes and carbon monoxide detectors.
It's probably an easy way to get into people's homes.
It was great, and
Pretty easy.
yeah, and then we were able to talk about emergency preparedness. We were able to let them know that we have this call list that if they were interested in getting on. So it really worked really well, and there were a few people who were very excited to learn about the programs going on with the Council on Aging who just didn't have somebody they could ask directly about it. So it was nice to be able to have those personal conversations. Now, there's a little bit of a glitch because it was a big grant that the fire department got, but the Red Cross is putting a hold on the smokes and the carbon monoxide detectors for now. So I'm working with Elena Chevry, who's one of the paramedics, and we're going to try to get around that, see if we can get some of our own funding to keep the program going, because it really proved to be a great program. And we could do outreach in ways that we hadn't been able to do, so it was great. So Linda and I had tried to do this coffee talk over the last couple of months where really I am at the senior center for an hour, and we're talking about mental wellness. And we haven't had a great turnout. Both times I've had one attendee, so we're going to rethink that a little bit. I think
It's without talking about it. It's a general idea to come in and have an opportunity without necessarily specifying what the opportunity is or what the topic needs to be. We did sort of frame it generally, but they don't know what it is. And it is sort of a word of mouth thing, I think, and also someone would come and enjoy that time that they got to spend and some of the feedback they might get from Laura. But we'll keep trying, maybe quarterly for
Are
that
there
too.
specific people you could invite?
There are. Certainly, we could do it that way.
And sort of get it started that way?
Yeah, so we're going to, I think we'll try to brainstorm and think of some ways like that.
I mean, even having Laura there is kind of, she goes for a lot of money usually.
Very expensive.
Expensive hours.
The other thing that we were able to basically finish up in January was we have this database. It's a storm wellness checklist. So when there is a major storm event, and when I say major, I mean we're assuming that there's going to be power outage for multiple days, shelters opening, a really severe storm is coming, we will initiate this call list. And so those of us in the senior center will divide up the call list and we'll place calls to people who have asked to be called. And we will talk through the shelter opening, what they need to know. If they're sort of ambivalent about what they're going to do, we'll talk through that with them and make sure they have an emergency contact, make sure they have medication, all those, the checklist to go through before a storm. So it's a really nice program, but it's one of those things that we need to make sure we're up to date on people's information. So every 2 years, Jenny and I send out a postcard and just make sure that people still want to be on the list, and do they have any new concerns that they want to talk with us about. So we just sent that postcard out, got them all back, and everything in the database is just being finalized.
How many people are on the database?
About 85.
I was going to say less than 100, but between 50 and 100.
Yeah, so it's a good amount. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is the Friendly Visitor Program, the ongoing development. I just wanted to give an update on my end. So it looks like we have a really nice group of people. It's a great idea because right now South Shore Elder Services does provide a Friendly Visitor Program, but you have to receive services from South Shore Elder Services. So I have people in the community that I work with that don't get South Shore Elder Services, and so they're not eligible for the Friendly Visitor Program. So it does fill a nice gap that currently exists. So it's a great idea. We have a nice number of people who are interested in becoming volunteers. Something that I learned from the dog therapy program that I was working on over the last couple of years is that any volunteer program requires a lot of management, and especially with a Friendly Visitor Program where people are going into folks' homes and seeing things that maybe they're concerned about, you need to have ongoing training, you need to have ongoing engagement, and so it's really a big endeavor. And so I think the feeling is that we want to do this the right way, and it might take a little bit longer to get it up and running, but let's do it the right way instead of trying to get it done quickly and realizing that we're not getting volunteers as engaged as they need to be and as much training as they would feel comfortable.
Laura, how will you find out if they want a visitor?
So I have a lot of folks that I work with where, it seems like it would be a nice fit for them. So
Okay.
when I go out in the community, typically I see, 3 or 4 people a day. If there are folks that would be interested in the program, I could talk with them about it and connect with them.
The other idea could be, once we have established sort of a good framework for it and put it in the newsletter, maybe people will see it and think it is a good idea for someone either that they know
Okay.
or have as a family member if they're getting the newsletter.
Yeah.
And other avenues.
Do we have a process in place for screening as far as the volunteers?
So all of that kind of falls under what we need to,
Right,
what we
because
need to
that's
do.
huge.
That is
You
huge,
do have-
yeah.
I mean, quarried, of
They're all
course,
quarried, yeah.
naturally.
But you're right, it is something that requires a lot of planning and preparation, and that's certainly one.
Well, previously, when I was in the form of this, I was a volunteer, as I've said 9,000 times. But in the former program, run under previous directorship, when I signed up to volunteer for it, I was trained, but I can't say there was a formal training program, but I was certainly trained before they sent me into this lovely lady's home. And I found the helpful, for me, there were a lot of helpful hints, common sense hints. But after my first visit, I found it was very helpful to have had that, because I did see things, and already bells were going off in my head. The former social worker said, don't, do notify us. And it actually helped, I think, the friendly visitor that I was helping, because I did notice things. But because of I had one-on-one training, but it was very important to me because I did see things and I'm going, wait a minute. Nancy said, no, don't. But then I came right back to the senior center and alerted them, that they.
Yeah.
So if you can get a formal training program
Yes.
together, I think it would be great.
And we're going to model it after the South Shore Elder Services.
Oh, good.
They were very kind to share their program with us, so we have their whole program. We just need to learn it and, pass the information along.
Oh, that's great.
So-
That'd be great.
And that's it. I wanted to see if there were any questions before I took off to get this.
Are there any questions for Laura?
Good stuff.
That's
Thank
great.
you so much.
Yep, Laura, this isn't a question, it's just at the last Commission on Disability meeting, there's a non-member of the commission that wanted to make sure that you had copies of her card. She can help expedite any kind of Mass Health. Yeah.
Ah.
And she said she had,
That's a good count.
yeah.
I'll take 2 of hers.
One, and you can have one.
Well, I worked for them for 12 years, so anything you can do to get expedited
That's
over
right.
there is a plus.
Yes, thank you, that's great.
Yeah, sure.
Laura, you're still down at
I
community
am.
building?
I am.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but we're
Just push her a little closer to the center.
A little closer to the water?
No, not really.
All right, thanks, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks so much for...
You're getting out of here. You're trapped.
She can leave tall buildings.
Okay, well, thank you, Laura. We wanted to just do a quick review of minutes. So then we got in the minutes, and if there was any comments on minutes, otherwise, it's for January 14th.
And this is the one, Marty pointed out, one misspelling in his name.
Mary's in there everywhere.
Depends on how you look at it.
Name and everything.
Oh,
Mary for Mayor O'Toole.
that's a vote, I think. That's a vote.
That's,
So are you going to, because I missed the last 2 meetings because of serious illness, I don't like to miss these meetings. I love these meetings. Are you I missed out, are you going to be doing the minutes until
Yeah.
Pat Conway comes back?
Yeah.
Yay!
Fixing that.
Maybe even Pat will be happy to hand over the reins to you.
it's just amazing how many times that happens, seriously.
I didn't even notice it. Well, it's auto spell check.
That's right.
So we've not accept them and then...
No, you can accept it.
No, we can
With the
accept
change.
Does everybody
We change, we can make an edit before we record.
Okay.
So I don't,
Well, I emailed Janice, I think I CC'd all of you, but because I missed the meeting, it was really helpful to me. I actually read them.
Thank you.
Verbatim, it was very helpful to me, so good job.
Minutes stand approved. Okay. Linda, I think we're turning it over to you.
okay. I will, as always, keep it short, but we want to go through the meeting. So, as Laura mentioned, the emergency preparedness home fire safety assessments, Jenny, Laura, and myself sort of took turns. I went on just one morning's visits, and it happened to be a household where we knew the people, so it was actually very nice for me, but better that the outreach happened to have gone to homes that it was nice for them to make a connection with. But it was great.
I was going to ask Laura, is emergency, that's a pretty big umbrella.
It is.
So it covers everything from smoke detectors and carbon monoxide to flooding issues.
Yes.
storm issues.
Are they aware of the resources, who to call? Did they want us to have their names to put on that call list? Check in with them, family, we gave
Yep.
them all the information that they could need. So I guess, yes, in some ways, it's really more home fire safety as opposed to EP, but we rolled it all together with that. Senior tax work-off program, I have to admit, it's still, I still have some work to do on that before being able to open it up to new. I have a couple of new applicants, and was able to place one as a repeat, but still have work to do in terms of uncovering some new positions in the town offices.
You need positions to be able to put seniors into.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I,
Yeah, that'd be great.
been still, December, January, and I just haven't had time. Interact Club, we do have them coming into the senior center in March, so I had mentioned that at the last meeting, a nice dinner and game event at the end of March, and also they are doing some tech time for us monthly, March, April, and May, so very excited about that. And they are also going to usher for us at the film showing on April 1st at the Millwharf Cinema at 3 o'clock, so that will be nice too. The Scituate Hoarding Response Team, I am part of that, as is Laura, of course, closely, and Jenny, and then all of the other departments that are involved. So we did have a couple of meetings, naturally, to debrief after the tragedy that had occurred last month. So that's just mentioning that it's always ongoing. We're now planning a community event, which we had planned all along, but just the idea that what might we want to bring to the community now to educate them and give people an opportunity to hear a little bit more about what the resources are through the task force. So that will happen. I thought it was May, it may be April, it's still under some planning. Q and I got to attend a workshop put on through Maya and the town on dealing with difficult clients, which was very helpful up here. Something else I am excited about, I think I turned that in as an announcement through the Board of Selectmen, which may have been last meeting, I don't know. But RMV Near Me, or Skip the Line, Go Online, something like that. Anyway, the senior center will open its doors during certain hours. I did have to designate certain hours. It is in the newsletter this coming month, that people could come in and use our public workstations. We have 2 computer workstations, or if they have an iPad, they just need help, they could bring that with them, and perform certain online transactions that the registry has put on their website, literally as the online branch. So it's simple stuff, and maybe a little bit strangely, probably the most popular would be the renewal of licenses, but that's only for under 75, because then they do need to be in there for an eye test and whatever else goes with that. Sorry. So I thought, wow, that seems like a big one. But there are many other things, whether it's, renewal or reporting of a lost placard, obviously easy ones, change of address, renewal of registration, etc. So there's certain things that we can help them with. There'll be instructions at the workstations, and the hours will be just maybe an hour and a half a few mornings a week, and an hour and a half a few afternoons a week. So.
But that's open to the community.
Right now we're saying seniors. They did suggest initially you say what age range you might, the whole community, that's kind of a lot. So right now I am saying seniors, and I'm only putting it out there for seniors. It could be 50 and over, it could be 40 and over, we could change that and alter that. So it was up to us to say what we thought we had the capacity to help right now. But yes, it is technically for everyone, yes.
Okay.
Just not yet at the senior center.
Okay.
And there are other councils on aging. They really reached out to councils on aging and said, are you interested in doing this? And I thought, why not? We have the computers, we have the staff.
It'll bring people from
And it would-
into the senior
Yes,
center. to see
absolutely.
Exactly.
Hopefully. Because they don't need to necessarily need help, but it might be nice
Yeah.
that they do it with us. We have our new 14-person van from GATRA, which is awesome. We couldn't drive it right away, although I guess it was in the paper today. So luckily, as of today, in fact, good timing, we have to have our drivers get this particular special medical ID card through an exam. So it's through the Department of Transportation that requires this, and only certain offices do it. So first we thought they could go to their doctors. They can't just go to their own doctors. So we set it up finally with the same location that does our random drug and alcohol testing with the driver. So it's all part of the compliance that we need to do for GATRA and through GATRA. So our first driver was completed today, so now we can drive the 14-person van, should we need it. It will be helpful for some of the local rides that we do regularly to supermarkets and different things downtown, which is popular, but also for some of the field trips, cultural trips we want to do that sometimes we have wait lists for, so it's great. And very nice, new, really nice van. I had a meeting with the architects that had been selected through the Adaptive Building Use Committee, who were interviewing all of the departments for potential relocation space needs. The Council on Aging being just one, but at the same time, obviously, a popular one for large space. So they met with me on early February, along with Lucille and JD and Dr. Price and John Catlin, who is the architect that Durkee Brown has brought in as a senior center expert. So he lent a lot of insight to some of the ideas we might have for what we want for space if we could get that kind of space. So it was a great meeting. It was a long meeting, and I think they're wonderful with their ideas and insight into what we could do if we had the right space. There will be more to come on that. Okay. I did meet before the advisory committee for a review of my budget, and then just this past Tuesday for the Board of Selectmen to approve the budget, which I have with me because I just didn't give you the numbers before, so I actually do have a copy of that. If anybody would like to see that.
Eventually, are you going to have copies made for all of us, as you did in the past and previous directors?
This is a copy for
Oh, I thought we were just passing around, so we can keep this?
Yep.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah,
You were there?
it's emblazoned on my brain.
So, you know, it's simple, really. It is level funded. A couple of adjustments, you know, $100 up, $100 down. Utilities, of course, are more expensive these days, so that was an area initially of concern, but, and then they changed a little bit, so if you're familiar with the line items, you'll see some zero balances there, and that's because they moved some of the line items for transportation to a new revolving GATRA fund. So the fact that GATRA does reimburse us for the cost of our transportation, to the driver's salaries, to the maintenance, to the operation in general, the fuels, etc. So that became a different revolving fund. So that $16,000, that doesn't appear there. But also postage was moved and combined with sort of the whole town and what they're doing for postage, which I think was probably, you know, a good move, it sounds like. So it just doesn't appear here as it once did, but we still have that money to draw from. So the bottom line, if you want to look at the back, it says, I think I might have needed my own notes, it says 221. You see that number, 221? But then we'd add the GATRA money in there, which is 60,000 plus. So that gives us a total of 282,000. And the difference, because it would appear that it was $30,000 less than our last year's budget, and that is because 60% of Laura's salary is now out of my budget, and the postage also is missing. So that's the only reason for that discrepancy. Otherwise, it really is the same, with some minor adjustments within the line items, but they got made up.
In the past, there's been two line items for the gift and donations account?
Right.
Is that here?
That's not
Am I
on
missing
this,
it?
that's not the municipal budget, that gets changed every year, that's a revolving fund, so
Yeah, but it was on last year's budget.
we still have it. But I didn't
But
give
is
you
that line,
sheet.
is that here?
No.
Am I missing it?
It's not in here.
Which wouldn't be on here.
No, that one's
So,
not. I didn't include those items for this purpose.
okay, but they were included in last year's, because I was just looking at it anyway.
Okay.
Is there a reason why you didn't?
No, just because it's not really changed.
Yeah, but it's still part of the budget.
I didn't think to bring it down, sorry.
Okay.
This is the budget that was approved. The other is an ongoing revolving fund.
Right.
If you would like to see what those donations have been, I suppose I should have done that, but I didn't think to do that.
Well, I would, because it's a sizable amount of money. Or it was last year.
It's a sizable amount of money.
It's a very sizable amount of money.
But it wouldn't go before the board of selectmen.
Right, but last year, when Linda spoke to us about the budget, she also gave us, when you have time, I'd like to see that.
Okay, we can do that for the
It's
next
a very
meeting.
sizable amount of money.
Again, we accept donations, which sometimes get placed in a programming fund because people earmark it for that.
Right.
They may also earmark a donation for gifts and emergencies,
Right.
which we put in that. And frankly, we really haven't had to draw on that this year. We have in the past done it for people who had the need. Laura might come to us, we might know someone, we might have through Jenny, they didn't get fuel assistance, something would come up, and we have used it in the past. We haven't been asked this year, so that's not changed. It may have grown a little. In addition to programming, we draw on judiciously. We might use it for programming. Some people might say, I want to help you out with this particular event, which is a program, and so we might use it for that.
So it's sit under separate account, separate
It
fund.
does. So the programming revolving account is one, and the gifts and donations revolving account is another. And now the GATRA is yet another revolving. Right. So again, the line items are, I was taking it for granted that they were sort of self-explanatory, but salaries, both part-time and full-time. I think I might need to, or could clarify for some, because I got a question about that. The van drivers, for instance, are all part-time. We have 2 regular part-time van drivers and 1 more per diem part-time drivers. When we need him, when one of the other drivers can't do it, he will do trips more readily. So those are our 3 regular drivers, but they are all part-time. We are considering another part-time driver because really we could have the need. And during the summer, one of our regular part-time drivers takes a leave and does some other work, so it really would be helpful to have the drivers because we now have the resource, we want to be able to use it and not. We have also used school bus drivers in the summer, last summer for the first time. It really was great that they were available. A man and his wife both, who drive for the schools, and could do some field trips, so that was nice, but that's a finite opportunity for us. Please. So if anybody has any questions, but things like Comcast, wireless, not just wireless, but Comcast internet service is paid through the budget. But our copier maintenance is actually paid through the formula grant, believe it or not. And the formula grant, which comes from the state, pays for a lot of the extra things that we might try to do, like the tables that we recently bought for the senior center. We're done with
Those are
the
nice
formula
tables.
grant.
That sounds good.
So, they are generous. One of our positions is paid through the formula grant, potentially. I could do more, and I'm going to look at it next time for that. But as I had said before, the budget covers us. We operate, we have enough money for what we need to do within the senior center itself. Okay, said I'd be quick. Oh, and I guess as part of, I did have a few meetings. We will need, with the resignation of Beth McCabe, which I guess I could make public at this point because she did submit that resignation for health reasons to the Board of Selectmen already. So she, although hadn't been performing as such yet, was the one we had voted to attend when able, or when they were held for the Commission on Disabilities meeting. So now we would need to consider another person for that role. And we're certainly sorry to hear that she had to step down.
Linda, are we able to, by bylaws, fill that position now instead of having to wait until the June?
I don't really think there's a bylaw stating that
I know, we
either
need to work on
way,
those
so
bylaws.
on the one hand, yes, because there's nothing stopping us. On the other hand, probably 2 months, and maybe we should try the cycle because that helps us when people's terms are up, et cetera.
Because then it becomes a reappointment in a couple of months' time.
Yeah.
Because it's based on terms,
And we would ideally like to overlap the 3-year term so that people aren't always leaving on the same year, et cetera. But, so
Well, so we put the word out.
we could do that.
Right.
It's never too early for that, and even if it ends up being June, but ultimately, which is when they go through the interim, the end of June.
Is it June?
It might be the end of May, and then the appointment's
I
in
think
June.
now, in the past couple of years, they spaced them out.
Right.
You should know better than I mean, I don't want to overstep yours.
No, go ahead,
But
yeah.
I watch it on Channel 9, instead of having every meeting just filled, jam-packed with all these appointees,
Right,
they were
right.
spreading them out. Is that right?
Well, plus you don't want
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
going out at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's usually 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 2 and 3, just so there's an offset.
Right, but instead of having, one meeting, that's all that's going on. Last year, they did some selections.
Oh, yes, that is the way we don't do
Yeah.
them all. We don't do every,
Yeah, they used to do them all, a little.
with all the committees and things.
It was like,
No.
yeah, so it would be a good shot now for people to start thinking,
That's a good segue, actually. So just very briefly, I did include the department's goals because that is part of the budget process with the town administrator and the board of selectmen. So that's on the back page of my report. So the first goal, to pursue unmet needs as identified through the needs assessment study and establish some strategies and programs
I don't have that.
It's my report.
That's your report.
mine's blank.
Do you not have my report?
Mine's blank.
Oh, that is so, it's not that funny. Well, I guess that's,
I just have the little flower that she
I
grew.
might have,
Just call me Picasso.
that could be my fault. I generally do two-sided,
Yeah, the book, yeah.
and so I must have thought I did two-sided, and maybe
The
I did
phone
not
rang.
two-sided. Well, I will read them, and then I will get you all copies, because I don't actually think I could possibly have an extra copy anywhere. I didn't do that, so I apologize. So, goal number 1, to pursue unmet needs as identified through the needs assessment study, which we don't want to lose. How many times have you heard someone say, boy, another study, what did we ever do with the first study? So I want to keep it alive, and I want people to know we are continually looking at it and seeing what else we can include for those things that we're able to do now with the constraints of the current facility. But, so to develop more caregiver programming, which is one thing that was mentioned frequently there. Offering opportunities for education, respite, and self-care. So all kinds of caregiver opportunities, we hope. An exercise program. Exercise is mentioned. It's certainly a way we love to bring people in. I think oftentimes it's with even younger seniors, newly retired, looking for places to have exercise, but we have to meet everybody's needs. So we have an MCOA grant for a new falls prevention style exercise. So one was developed called Balance for Life, so we're going to integrate that. We have the Tai Chi for healthy aging. This will be a nice supplement. It may work together at some point, and I believe I have someone in mind for doing that starting in March, so that's coming up very quickly.
Where are all those things taking place?
Where? Well,
Remember that huge senior center?
you know, and I skipped one item in my report that talked about St. Luke's and just the clarification we needed. So we have the space at St. Luke's. We've been using it somewhat minimally at this point.
Oh, right.
2 mornings a week for yoga, 1 afternoon for another exercise class.
Yeah.
Some things we bypass St. Luke's and others in St. Mary's. When other spaces may be more ideal, we've sought that, but St. Luke's is there, and so this, I believe, will go there, is my current feeling. Because we have, really, it's just us in the rec department using St. Luke's with the library, sometimes supplementing some of their programs when they can, but we're the priority, so it's been useful. To expand and refine the senior tax work-off program, so that is a high priority, it's on my goals. So, believe me, I will be doing that and hopefully increasing some of the positions as we talked about before, and just advocating for seniors who we know have the need for some assistance in that regard. Also, and I mentioned the segue, so to clarify and update the COA board bylaws, the way we operate, what we find we can do together as a board, different relationships that we would like to make more cohesive and maybe merge some of the interests moving forward. So that is a goal of mine, and it's right up here. And then lastly, stating the obvious, I guess, but supporting efforts to research and advocate the needs for an additional senior center space, and a senior center space. So the fact that I would be doing it anyway, I might as well make it a goal. So anyway, those are the goals. There's some objectives, and I will get you a copy of that, but I just thought that I would include those for you. So, and I don't think we need to, the transportation report looks as it always does, but remember, we're talking about January for the most part, which is lower in all aspects, so transportation was down, not like last year necessarily, but we did schedule less also. So, rides compared to December, 460 versus 555. So generally speaking, on a monthly basis, we could have up to 700 rides in a month. It's not one of our, but they average out, they might average out to 600 a month in the long run. And Jenny's outreach report is on the back. That one got copied correctly on the back of the transportation report. So you'll also see that her numbers, well, I should ask her to include her previous months, but hers are generally about the same. And especially we're now, certainly fuel assistance, but you'll see we haven't had those same numbers as we did last year either.
Seems like some of those numbers are inching up.
Jen's numbers, they could be. She hasn't really indicated which those might be. But the at-risk advocacy, because she is called in often enough in some of Laura's cases, and/or maybe she's the one that starts the case and then it might move to Laura, so that could be what we're seeing. And we do have to rely on her for some visits when we are getting a lot of calls from someone when we can't really necessarily provide what they want, whether it's transportation and they're not considered, or they're not able to meet the standards of independence that we require, because our drivers really can't be that caregiver, that companion in terms of traveling with us. So those are times we need to...
Can't open the door and walk through.
They have altered the language that Gatra has used. It used to be curb to curb, not door to door. Now they do say location to destination. They're kind of making it a little bit easier for us to extend ourselves if we feel that it's safe and we're able to do that, or our drivers feel comfortable doing that.
Are they doing door to door?
Not really door to door. I mean, if it's a wheelchair, we help them in terms of the wheelchair lift, but technically they are supposed to be able to get to the van. And that's why the shoveling in the winter is such an issue, because they need a walkway
Yeah.
to be able to get from the door to the... And last year that was a big issue. This year it hasn't really been. And we don't have that many cheap wheelchairs that we are dealing with on a regular basis anyway.
I'd just like to interrupt for a second and say that I see a lot of seniors all the time. And a senior, I don't know if to say her name, but she pulled me aside and she wanted to give huge compliments to Jenny. And what, I perhaps am exaggerating when I say rave, but she gave Jenny a rave review about how Jenny had helped her with her Medicare prescriptions last year and this year, and I advised her to let Jenny know herself, maybe a little thank you note or whatever, but, it's nice to hear things like that. She said, you know everybody at the senior center, and then went on to rave about Jenny. And this is a public forum, and it's nice to be included.
Thank you. Yes, that is always nice, and she does a great job. We're lucky to have her. Activities, there were certainly less because we didn't want to have to cancel everything like we did last year, but a few highlights. We did a what-if workshop with Gwen Morgan, who is a Scituate resident, and she did a wonderful job for about 20 people in terms of advanced planning and working through a workbook that she provides, and it was really very helpful, and everybody did like that. That came up during the Aging Mastery program, but then we called her back in for something a little bit more detailed and comprehensive. All the Right Moves was another cafe talk with an aging in place specialist. If you wanted to stay in your home, what kinds of things could someone do to make their home easier, better to remain in? And then also with the idea of, well, if then you were going to move, what would you have to consider for moving purposes? And then a really popular new activity is expressive writing with a volunteer, a woman who's in Scituate part-time. And she has started an expressive writing activity or group. It's not about creative writing as much as it is about sharing. And it's funny, when Laura mentioned the coffee talks that we were trying to start, this almost accomplishes the same thing because it generates sharing and discussion, but without it being the primary purpose. So it has been really nice, and she's able to do it when she's in town, and then they travel some, and so then there's a gap, and we fill it with something else. But if anyone has an opportunity to come, we actually have had, it really was, from the first time they had it, so great that every one of the staff has taken a turn sitting in and doing it for their own enjoyment and the value it gave, but also for the people in the group to get to know them a little bit, so it's been nice. So that was good. So that is all I have, I think, to mention of importance, and we probably got to move on to our next item. So unless anyone has any questions?
Well, that might be a perfect segue from expressive writing to...
Right, to reporting.
Yeah.
So originally, I guess I could step in. I think it was Dr. Price who might have extended the original request to have you and Christie come.
Figure out that we, I guess, stay more in the kind of community eye type of thing through the media.
Right. And of course, we have talked and we've been in touch, and certainly have always been very available in terms of something we need, and we try to do our weekly activities if we can get them in there. But I think the board had an idea that what other things might you suggest as our media source, our print media
Well,
source?
Christy, who couldn't be here,
Yes.
but she did want me to mention to you that you have a column. I know, I totally forgot about it. And she said
I
that, definitely
Right.
use,
Right.
use that. That's definitely a great way to get out there. And they're actually
Did
pretty
have-
popular in the paper, believe it or not. So she wanted me to mention that to you
Okay.
about your column.
I need my column.
Right. And, I mean, just coming to the meeting,
Yeah.
I just learned a lot of different things
Right.
going on, so, and I know that we reached out.
Activity calendar?
Yeah, I mean, do you send that, did you send that to Christy, or, okay, and you have pretty much a lot of the same things that you
So
discussed?
the activities coordination, and sometimes it is tough, sometimes meeting the deadlines and getting it on
Right, right.
time. So she tries to do that every week, every Friday.
So you have the activities calendar comes out every once a week?
Well, we might send it to you.
Oh, but if you might not get in for the
You
deadline.
might not always get in.
Is it weekly? Putting an activity calendar in the newsletter, which is every 2 months.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna, I was gonna ask for the
If you
newsletter.
get in the Mariner once a week, you just need to sort of break down that next
Right,
week,
right.
7 days, shoot it over.
I mean, the publishing opportunities are there really if we can get to them, but
Right.
maybe you have some suggestions even after listening to us and what we report about or what we're talking about. What kinds of things should we be writing them in narrative in order for that to be sort of a bigger...
Well, you can do,
Article.
what we do, what we suggest to some people, to organizations and things is, obviously we want to do, Christy did say this as well, we want to do a few more, kind of feature-y stories about what's going on at the COA, because we don't do too many. We just did the GATRA, the new van.
Yep.
But it sounds like you guys have a lot of other things going on that might be of interest, not just to seniors.
Not just to seniors. Well, so for instance, coming up, and I have mentioned this to the board a couple of times, and actually probably at this point, this is the time to be doing it. The documentary film that we are now able to show at the Mill Wharf Cinema will be on April 1st, and it's called The Age of Love, and it features and somewhat documents a speed dating event for 70 to 90-year-olds.
No
But
way.
it was a cultural council grant that I received after writing about this opportunity that they felt was, and it is, a wonderful opportunity to maybe change perceptions or just broaden perceptions in any community about the lives and the needs and the wishes and desires of older adults that in this case might happen to be single for whatever reason. So the movie is beautiful and we are showing it through the grant at the Mill Wharf Cinema at no charge. I don't believe we're asking the director to come. That would be a cost, much bigger cost
Right.
to have him come and talk about it, though he is always willing.
Am I connected with him in Brooklyn?
We may have you connect with him in Brooklyn, because he's from Brooklyn, New York.
He's a Brooklyn boy, so I might meet him.
She might get us a discount. Let's see.
I shall try.
So that is a possibility, but even without that, we want to show the film. It's going to be a 3 in the afternoon film, out by 4:30. It's the first Friday, so people are downtown, and we hope, the Interact Club is, again, ushering. We hope people will tell their families or their friends of any age, because it really is a cultural awareness opportunity,
Right.
even as much as it's an interesting, intriguing idea for people who we then hope will join us at the end of April, 4 weeks later, for a speed dating event, which we will plan and organize and hold right here in Scituate.
Wow.
We will probably broaden you can't have it for more than 10 to 15 people during the course of a 2-hour evening, but if it goes well once, we'll do it again. And we'll invite people from out of town, just in case
Well, this
that
is like
helps.
a good example because, we do feature stories. We
Right.
can't do a big story about everything, obviously.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we can't get other things like this event, the film, the documentary, would be a great, like an event preview type of thing. Just give us, I'd say, give us about 2 weeks at least before the event. And what we can just do is we can set it up as like an event preview segment, which is pretty popular. Just give all the Wear Wet One, Wear, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we put it up online as well. We put everything pretty much up online. And the thing that I would suggest with anything, whether it's a press release, whether it's something for an event preview, is to try to submit a photo. Just, and we've talked about this, I think, just because it
Photos
goes
draw.
better online, yeah.
Oh, even online, but photos draw certainly in the newspaper.
Yeah, well, the event previews would have a photo, not all briefs and things would have a photo in the paper, but they would have a photo up on the website, and then we put it on the Scituate Mariner Facebook page, and then we, Christiana will tweet it on our own Twitter accounts. And it always helps to have a photo. Yeah, that's right. So, if you could keep us, I think Laura, her new role, I don't think I did a Q&A or, meet the new employee thing when she came on board. And I think now that her responsibilities, like she said, have been sort of split, it might be a good idea just to do a Q&A with her even. And I'll run this by her, of course, but that would, bring awareness to what she's doing.
And how much she's doing.
Right, and what the services are available through her department and through the Council on Aging, that sort of thing. Also, you can always send us an individual press release, even if it's pulled out of the newsletter.
Right. And I think I meant to do that for the RMV online. Did I?
That would be a great idea. That would be something, and you have my email, Linda, yeah. And I can put it together, I can tweak it. It doesn't have to be submitted in perfect form. We'll arrange it a little bit. And we can put that online as well. We can put that in the paper. And that just kind of keeps awareness. And obviously the big issue is the senior center, which a lot of people have an interest in, regardless of whether they're a senior or not. Trying to go to the meetings where it's discussed and keep that kind of rolling.
Well, if you have ideas for topics.
I want to talk about Steve Serta coming.
That's right.
We have a fellow Rotarian, Steve Serta, who will be doing a part of your cafe talk, I guess, Wednesday, March 16th, 10 a.m. Safe Passage. And what he has done, he started about 15 years ago, JD, he has gone to Guatemala many times. And what they have done there, they have actually taken children that they say they're at the dump, and they go through the dump, and they sell whatever they find. And anyway, they were trying to get the children out of this situation in this little village, and I thought this was very creative. Because the parents wanted them to continue this way because they need whatever monies come out of that. Well, they've convinced the parents, please send your child, and at the end of the day, we'll give him beans and rice to bring home to the family.
Wow, yeah.
And it's turned things around, and they've gotten a lot of the kids out of that situation. So he'll be talking about it. He's also going, he sent me a notice, do you want to go to Guatemala? No, thank you. I have other things on my plate. But he's going. I forget the date he's going. But anyway, he's sort of my hero.
They probably go twice a year.
He does, yeah. And he
April and October, they go down with the team.
I know. And he said, once you go, you'll be hooked. Okay.
So it's also a nice story for us because it's been a collaboration of the Council on Aging with the Rotary Club. They've been great to us anyway, and they had supported the technology that we have. So putting it on the new TV.
Every time I'm taking a course at the center now with Bob Jackman, and I watch that TV, and I think of the Magician Show. The Rotary raised the money for the new TV and the series.
That's a big one, yeah. So, well, anyway, that's it. Steve so I'm hoping that perhaps you can come.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting man to meet.
It really would be great. So March 16th.
Yeah. 16th Wednesday at 10.
I'll remind you about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Good, thank you.
So those are the ideas that I think we should think of. If anybody has any ideas.
It's been talked about a few times on I think on this current couple of years, but it's been talked about for quite a while. Possibly doing an article on picking a couple of seniors in their lives. Their lives are so interesting.
Oh, I agree.
It doesn't have to be someone that could be nominated for Citizen of the Year. just a person. Scituate is filled with seniors who have led intriguing, wonderful lives. And only the people that volunteer with them and the senior center folks might know, staff might know. But just if they were willing to sit down and talk about, not their whole life from age 1 when they fell out of the crib, but they have just fascinating stories. fascinating.
Just snapshots of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's just amazing to me, and I think this would be an interesting, not a weekly feature, perhaps, you know, it's a lot of work, you know, to coordinate with the senior in
Yeah,
question.
but who's looking for work?
Yeah.
Always.
She's looking for things to do.
I know,
It's not enough to go around this town.
I know, she even looks bored right now. No, she never has anything to do. I mean, she you
It's okay, you might be.
Speaking of which,
I'm not. There's a lot of interesting things being brought up.
You could be home watching CBS Nightly News or something, you know?
Oh, no.
But, I mean, you're everywhere. You're everywhere.
Yes.
But perhaps, you know, there's someone who could help you with, you know, in other words, I think it would be a project.
That's not a difficult
Actually
project.
find a
That's not a
person.
difficult
Yeah,
project.
I have somebody in mind already.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always write a story and submit it.
In mind, doesn't have to be on
It's
the
not, that's a feature story. That's not difficult. You know, once a month maybe or something, you know, that might
Maybe
be,
once a quarter.
you know, that would be a good idea.
I think it would interest the general population of Scituate. Could be their next door neighbor, and they never even knew that this person.
Yeah,
Everybody does like
absolutely.
stories. And we have a few riders on the van that really have become such good friends through the course of using the van, that they actually occasionally will have, the younger one will, who doesn't have a car, one of the other men who has them will rent the car, and they've gone to Maine, and they've done some different things together that
Right.
really, they just have a nice relationship now, all from riding the van together. So there are
That's a story right there, yeah, that's a story right there.
You know, I also think the calendar is a good vehicle. You know, the calendar that you print comes in. I always look at that to see what's going on. and
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
on time, you know what I mean?
And
You
5
just-
things you could do this week.
Right.
Yeah. Chris
Well, we
has
were
that
actually in
together.
there last week.
Were you?
Last week, I can't remember what the.
I don't see that. Christy actually does that. I don't see that one. Were you? That's a pretty popular segment.
It is.
The 5 things.
It's easy to digest, tell me what I
Yeah, it's really
should do.
popular.
Also a nice job on last Saturday when we had that meeting over at the library.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really
On that.
interesting. You know, that was a good meeting. That was a good
What a
meeting.
turnout, huh?
Yeah,
You would think
and that was a
somebody
great
would
senior turnout too. That was. So whenever you have any, like, you know, stories at the van, guys, if you know of anybody that, I mean, everyone does have a great story. I mean, I have talked to a lot of people that have really
Remember the
nice
story,
lives.
I think it was you that wrote it, but I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I know him, the man who was an FBI agent.
Oh, for the marathon? Boston Marathon bombing?
No. He you know, he's always hanging around Hennessy's. But he was an actual FBI agent.
I think John, would it be John Ross?
Yes.
Maybe it was him. There was a whole article on him. And he used to tell me these things, right, in Hennessy's, and I go, yeah, sure.
Yeah, no.
I would, I said, go, yeah, sure. And then you come out with that article, it was all valid and true.
See? He wasn't lying here.
No, but it was filled with details that were like, you know.
Really interesting. People have had,
Yeah.
even like Sis Dowd, I mean, so many of what she's, her career in the service, I mean, a lot of people have really interesting stories. That's a good idea.
I think the impetus for having it was just, if you had ideas, things that we maybe could do more of or do better, to advocate and get the word out in the community of what
I just think, you know, whatever you have, like,
value we could have.
yeah, I mean, because we don't really do a lot outside of the calendar and things. There's not that many things, but you guys seem to have a lot going on that, you know, people don't realize. And I like your idea of the kind of the spotlight thing.
Well, that was,
I think that's
that was sort of an idea that's been bouncing around.
Yeah.
Been on the board a long time, and it keeps bouncing.
And of course, the Rotary.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah.
No, we have good speakers. We really do.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions for?
Can Joan come up?
Yeah. Let's move to our sort of liaison updates here.
I had revised the agenda because I wasn't sure who, besides Joan and Elaine, which I knew were coming, would speak, so we may not have all of them, but we do have.
Joan's here.
Well, Joan Powers from the South Shore Elder Board. We met February 2nd. The legislative breakfast with partnership with Wellspring was very successful. They're continuing to work on snow preparations with weather emergencies, they're updating and training, and they're looking for more drivers. And speaking of drivers, they also, Meals on Wheels is always looking for volunteers. And then we went over the governor's budget, and I had a couple interesting things. Some good news to end this week from Governor Baker's office. This year, unlike some past years, you will recall that on November 19th, 2014, LD Home Care Lines items suffered 2.37 million in cuts. In February of 2005, 15 million allocates work to avoid cuts to the personal care, attention program, and the adult foster care services. This year, Governor Baker has not recommended any cuts to the elderly line item. Given the 46% steep climb in elderlies the state is facing, that the governor has not looked for cuts in this area. This is a great relief to the 45,000 seniors who use home care services. So that was a big thing, and there was a lot of talk about that. The governor's budget for home care is presented as being sufficient to avoid elderly waiting lists, which they had last year. The best news of 4.97 million increase in elderly abuse protective service funding. So that's a big thing that they've been working on. And the Title III of the Older American Act provides federal funding to South Shore Elderly Services through Executive Office of Elderly Affairs to support the regional development of community programs for our seniors, especially the most isolated and disadvantaged. Although Title III program addresses a wide range of services directed towards these elders and caregivers with the greatest social economic needs, all Americans over 60 may benefit from the OAA and Title III programs. And they talked about that. And through these successful partnerships, South Shore Elders has created a strong network of community agencies that support our seniors, their families, and their caregivers. Fundings for these programs is subject to receipt of funds from the federal government. And there were several grants, a lot in Quincy and Weymouth, which, you know, lower income that need more help. And the board training was on the Area Agency on Aging, and they listed a lot of things that they do. I think one of the main was they conduct focus groups need assessment in the community to determine needs of elderly and caregivers. As an AA, South Shore Elderly works closely with all local COAs and other agencies, organizations to develop a comprehensive, coordinated system of elderly services, and they visit all the COAs in different towns and work with the different agencies, and they're always updating. And so there was a lot of talk about that, and that was very interesting. Let's see if there's something else. I think that was probably it, and also that I want to remind you that there is a community dinner February 28th at St. Luke's. Hopefully we won't have a snowstorm. We had to cancel in January.
Oh, did you?
But what I do, I call the main people that I know, but people will call me, they know they can call me. And so that worked out pretty good, but it was pretty obvious anyway.
And you posted on Scituate Monthly too, which was good.
Yeah. On Facebook and...
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Elaine, can you report out on anything?
Sure, I can.
Your committee?
I wasn't very comprehensive in my report last month, because I didn't have an idea what I was doing. But just to go into the fact, I mean, I did say that we were a four-member board, but we have goals, and they're published on the ScituateMass.gov website, to research local problems of people with disabilities, to advise and assist municipal officials and employees in ensuring compliance with state and federal laws and regulations that affect people with disabilities, coordinate or carry out programs designed to meet the problems of people with disabilities in coordination with programs of the Massachusetts Office on Disability. Review and make recommendations about policies, procedures, services, activities, and facilities of departments, boards, and agencies of the town of Scituate as they affect people with disabilities. We have been working with the harbor master on that over the past few months. Obviously not in the harbor right now, but for upcoming needs. Provide information, referrals, guidance, and technical assistance to individuals, public agencies, businesses, and organizations in all matters pertaining to disabilities, and to coordinate activities of other local groups organized for the same purpose. So that's just basically what our objective mission is. I did have one question here, and I had mentioned this in an email to you. The request for funds for transportation that to our board, but GATRA is giving funds for, so I'm just a little confused. GATRA's giving $60,000 for transportation support.
Yes.
But there was a request to our,
We haven't
John?
requested recently to you, but if we ever had, if we spent more than GATRA had afforded us, then perhaps we would have a need, but we have not made that request.
can I ask for a clarification from my chairman?
On education and fuel and so on. Right now, they mentioned the part about the physical exams, it's called a DOT,
Yeah.
medical exam. Now, I'm from UPS, and I'm like on the Teamster and also on the safety committees there. And it comes down to where, I don't know where to fall on your party, but you might be charged those expenses. And it comes down to where you also have to do a spot check. Now, whether you do that by a letter or the last number of the social security number, that's how you do get it. But I can tell you this, your drivers will not be able to take, if you get a code, anything for a code, because they'll come up as a bad test. And it's all or nothing. You can't, like, Mucinex is the best thing to clear your lungs. They can't take that, they can't take Sudafed or the over-the-counter brands. And that's why, you know, wintertime is a bad time for a driver. So based on that, you might need money to cover that, but you're covering those expenses.
Okay. Wasn't there a request made for money?
We were going back and forth as
I believe he said there was money earmarked for us if we needed it, and so that would be a future
Okay,
need
fine.
potential. That's nice to know.
Thank you.
Because your budget's already done, you may need it for that now.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. But we'll clarify things as well.
That's fine, I'm clear now.
Thanks, Elaine. Thanks so much.
Do we have a representative from Friends of Scituate Seniors here in our audience? No.
Should I tell about when April 2nd, the event?
Oh, the lesson told? My name's Carol King. I am the events co-chair for the Friends of Scituate Seniors, and we've got a talk coming up the first Saturday in April. I believe it's the 3rd, and it's a talk on Lawson Tower. It's the 2nd, from 3 to 5. So,
Very good.
Could I ask how you're publicizing that?
Posters.
Okay. We have now an April 1st event through the
Yeah.
senior center that we're hoping, you know.
We haven't really gotten that far in the planning stages of it. We've been kind of sidetracked with the upcoming golf tournament that's going to happen in June. We've been doing a lot of planning for that.
And what is what's the objective of the event?
What is the objective of what?
Of this event, having this event? I'm just curious what the objective is. Is it a fundraising
Historical.
event?
Yes, it's a fundraiser.
Yeah, social and historical.
Social.
We'll have baked goodies and like coffee and tea.
So,
But it's a fundraiser, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
is that what you meant by objective?
yes, that's the question.
What day does that fall on? Is that a Saturday?
Saturday, the
Yeah.
2nd.
So that wouldn't affect any events at the senior center, right?
Not directly, but there is something April 1st on a Friday afternoon at the Millworth Cinema, and also where is that being held, and would you like to have it at the senior center? Is it something that we could combine our efforts on doing, if it's a social event? That's all. That's my question. Is the objective to gather seniors together for an activity, for an event? And could we do that together?
It's a fundraiser. It's a
Sure, are you talking about the Lawson Tower?
I am.
I don't see
So
what...
it's a tour, not a talk. I'm sorry, it's a tour. I thought you said it was a talk.
It's a talk.
It's a talk. Talk, sure.
It's a presentation, and it will be held at the church.
3 to 5. The Unitarian Church.
I hope the church includes, yeah, so it's a.
Actually, all the plans haven't been solidified yet, because the things that the gentleman that is doing the talk needs are like Wi-Fi and a big screen, and the church, I don't believe, has both of those, so we might be switching to the GAR hall.
I see. Okay.
So, I mean, the plans aren't really solidified yet. But we'd be glad to talk to the Council on Aging about doing that together. Why not?
Okay.
Okay. Gordon is our liaison to the Adaptive Building Reuse Commission or Committee. I don't know if anybody else attended and has a report out on that from, I guess, last Thursday.
It was on a they had an open meeting on the 6th of February. I didn't attend, but there was an open meeting on that.
Right.
Oh, well, okay, and right,
But I
the
didn't-
Saturday report.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a meeting last Thursday night
Right,
with
I
the
didn't
architects,
okay.
but I don't think it was a big presentation.
They
And I
gave a
think
presentation of, the architects gave a presentation of what they want in Gates Building. That's mainly what it was.
Okay.
And then last Saturday was a
high
public
school.
forum.
Right.
And 32 seniors attended. And the nice thing is, because it was a forum and not a formal committee meeting, there was a lot of interaction between the committee people and people in the audience, and everyone felt comfortable
And
to
Ruth
speak.
did a wonderful job.
Oh, I know.
It was a good meeting.
It was. And you did a great presentation on a possibility of, condo developments, and it was just, but the big message put out by the committee to the people attending the forum was, if nothing is set in stone, the possibilities of what will be done with the Gates School and the land are still,
Work through it.
it still needs to be worked through, and a committee member just kept saying, if this is a possibility, if. So nobody would get the idea that, this is all settled and done, and, but it was really nice because everybody could interact, whereas the formal Gates Reuse Committee meetings.
Yeah, it's a committee meeting. It's not an open forum, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
thank you.
Does anybody else have any other business? That's all we've got on our agenda.
I just.
Old business, new business?
Yeah, it's on the agenda. Was that an oversight? Old business, new business?
We have to wrap up. We knew it would be a concise meeting.
Okay, so that was intentional. Okay, well, I wasn't in on the information. I just thought it was, okay,
I asked a
excellent.
question, why we didn't meet at the Council on Aging?
Because we're supposed to meet last week, and it
Right.
didn't get posted on time. And we have an art class there on Thursday nights that I didn't want to cancel again.
For tonight?
For tonight.
I see, okay.
Wire, motion to close the meeting?
You know what I mean?
Motion?
Acting chairman is speaking.
We've got our motion.
Motion.